Hello, this is Rauta and Midgardsblot 2022. This time, I'm sorry to say, we don't have metal. Then again, I'm not really sorry to say we have one of the biggest names in, I guess, Viking folk metal would be roughly the description, but let's start with who you are again. You are Mr. Wardruna, but how do you use or describe yourself?
Well, my name is Einar Selvik, and I'm a Norwegian musician and composer. Been doing many different musical genres since I was young. Played for many years. I played in various metal bands such as Sag and Gorgoroth, Dead to This World, and so on. But for the last 20 or so years, I've sort of fully dedicated myself to creating music where I explore and use a selection of the oldest instruments, musical traditions that we have in the Nordic region and in Norway through the vessel Wardruna, I've also worked with music for television, film, and for the world of computer games. So yeah, that's me.
So you're a man of many talents and you are fascinated by lots of different things. Now, what makes you tick when you're creating music first and foremost for your own project, but also beyond that, like I said, television, games and beyond? What is the things that move you, motivate you?
Well, my music is, I would say it's mainly about nature, I would say, and traditions that are born out of nature, which my focus has never been about like trying to recreate music from any specific time periods. For me, it's more about creating something new with something old, rather than trying to copy the past. So in that sense, it's always been important that whatever it is I'm working with, it carries a contemporary relevance. And of course, since many of these traditions are born out of nature in the first place, that's basically the reason why they still speak to us. A lot of these subjects and also the instrumentation. It has certain visual qualities that I think really appeals to us. It has that almost cinematic. Yeah, a lot of these old instruments, they have this cinematic quality to them. So
they're beautiful to watch, not only listen to, but look great and give this atmosphere in a way.
Yeah, well, you should not underestimate the power of aesthetics. You know, that is part of it, for sure.
Now, do you have a favorite instrument, or say, couple of favorite instruments that you like to have as your favorite pets?
Well, I can't offend. I can't offend any of them. So no, I don't. It depends on what I'm doing. You know, different instruments have different qualities for different types of. I think several of them have. Well, I think perhaps the one I use most is the lyre instrument, which is a handheld, small, almost like a small harp, similar to the Finnish kantele. It's basically a similar type of instrument as that. It's an ancient instrument that you find in almost all the corners of the world. It's been around for thousands of years.
So kind of a universal.
Yeah, and it would have been the most common string instrument, for instance, in the Viking period. It's very suitable for accompanying singing and poetry and storytelling and such. So it would be the the instrument of the bards or the skalds, and I guess that's an instrument that I use a lot in both in Wardruna but also in my solo performances. In certain musical projects such as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this was perhaps the main instrument type I used.
How much vocal performance, say poetry or just clean singing, plays in a part where you just create the music? Like, which comes first, making compositions or having these vocal or lyrical parts in the music?
Well, both, because sometimes a song can be born out of the sound of an instrument or just playing on it. Sometimes it can be sparked by poetry and words. That's what everything else grows out of. Sometimes a theme has such a strong quality to it that I instantly hear the sound of it in a way, and then it's about chasing down that sound and manifesting it in a way. So all of the above basically can be born out of anything. Same as, you know, my music is very much about nature, but sometimes being away from nature can actually trigger that inspiration even more, because then you have a sense of longing, and that's a powerful creative tool.
Can we even talk about nostalgia in a way, when you're longing for nature, being part of it, going towards places that you haven't been visiting for a while, or maybe new places as well?
Nostalgia is definitely part of longing. So nostalgia, I think, is good as long as it doesn't become escapism, because I don't feel that being a very constructive thing. And that is something is very important in my music as well, that it's not about trying to recreate music from any specific time period. It's here and now. It's the future. It's relating to here and now. And there are so many things that from the past that still carries value today, that still have a place here because it has a relevance. And at the same time, there are so many things from the past that belongs in the past because they simply doesn't carry any meaning anymore. There's no use for it.
Now that we're talking about nature, and especially a lot of Norwegian black metal bands and pagan metal bands and Viking metal bands have always touched this multitude of Norwegian nature in so many ways. You have fjords, you have seaside, you have forests and fields. Basically everything Nordic environment could be talked about. But what is your favorite poison when it comes to picking your, like, this is the thing where this is the place I wanna go to when I just need extra dose of inspiration?
That's difficult because I love it all in a way, and it appeals to different kinds of moods. I guess sometimes the forest is what I need. Sometimes I need to climb a mountain. Sometimes I need to feel the sea. So it's difficult to pinpoint, and we're so spoiled, as you say. We are very spoiled here with having access to beautiful wilderness still. Let's keep it that way.
I noticed this when I was, taking a train from Oslo to here, and in Finland we don't obviously have any fjords or mountains. Like, okay, this we lack. We might have more lakes, but you kind of have like it all, except maybe the warmth of southern countries. Now, talking about that, using that as an excuse to talk about traveling. As an artist, you obviously get to see a lot of different places. How do you feel when you're traveling to foreign countries? Do you ever feel like, okay, this is something that we lack in Norway, but this is something that I could totally use to inspire certain songs or stories?
I don't know, not directly, I would say. Although I definitely sense beauty in many places I'm lucky enough to visit. And of course, everything you do, everything you experience becomes part of what you create. I'm potentially not the same person tomorrow as I am today. Potentially I've learned something that I bring into the person I am tomorrow. So, and the same thing goes for these experiences as well, traveling around, meeting nice people, and yeah, we're lucky in the sense that we get to play in a lot of really special places as well. Historical sites or beautiful nature amphitheaters, or yeah, and of course all of that is something I take into who I am and what I do as a human being, and that's of course an important part of the creation as well, that it comes from somewhere that is you or me.
Now, farther you go from the Nordic countries, I guess the farther you also travel from these Viking traditions and heritage and culture, how are you welcome in those places which are maybe not that, familiar with the themes you are doing music about? How does that affect when you travel to places like, okay, we're gonna play this set of Viking era inspired music?
No, I don't sense that there is a difference, and I think that what we're doing is I would call it universal. The wrapping around it is Nordic, perhaps, or not perhaps, it is Nordic. But the stuff that's inside,
it's universal.
It's universal. It's timeless. People can relate to it, whatever your social or cultural or religious background is, what your age is, it doesn't really matter. You can relate to it. It's basically born out of three things. It's the things we're singing about is about our relationship to nature, nature itself, human nature itself, and to something that is bigger. Which is something we all relate to, whether it doesn't have to be a spiritual thing or a religious thing, it can be a philosophical thing. It's something we all relate to, and it moves past all of these borders and barriers, I think. That's how I experience it, at least, that people react very similar, whether or not we're playing at a metal festival or in a concert hall. People are people, and music has the ability to transcend these imaginary borders.
Now, when you created Wardruna, and of course you had to take the baby steps, so to speak, of the music and creating the orchestra, had you ever imagined how big you could become with this kind of music, which is not exactly the kind of a pop or rock music popularity, and now you're conquering bigger and bigger stages and conquering the world in a way?
Well, it's never been my focus. I do it because I create the songs I want to hear myself, and the rest is a bonus. And when I started out this, I definitely did not think it would be for everyone. I thought it would be too weird. At the same time, I did notice when I showed the first music I recorded to friends or family or people in the industry, that they all reacted very strongly to it. So in that sense, I could definitely see that there was a potential that maybe more people than me want to hear music like this. But it's not my focus. My focus is just about being present and staying loyal to the art.
Do you ever get pressure of being the beacon in the dark, like leading this kind of a world or folk music? Like everybody is watching your step and figuring out, like, could they be the next Wardruna? Do you ever feel pressure that you're leading the way in a way?
I don't know. Because I don't. I'm not the leader of anything. I just do my thing. And it's about delivering quality in whatever you do. It's about daring to say no when it doesn't fit. It's about when I'm on tour. It's about that 1.5 hour on stage, doing whatever it takes to make that as good as it can be. and yeah, it's I think that is what's moving it forward, daring to say no, daring to trust your instincts and your gut and all of that, which is not easy, because of pressure, because of opportunities. Since the beginning, we've perhaps said no to 70-80% of all requests.
Okay, that's a kind of a big amount.
Whether it's about live or other things, because it's been important that not to compromise the art. You know, I'm patient. I don't want to jump on all opportunity. I want to do the right opportunity, the one that feels right, the one where we are able to do our things on our premises.
So more like sitting on decisions rather than rushing things hastily.
Growing slow, you know. I think that's not jumping on any hype trains or staying true to your integrity as an artist. I think that's in the long run. That's it's my experience that has been a great part of why it's growing. Also, why people are connecting to it, because it comes from somewhere genuine, somewhere real. Because we don't do these compromises. We don't sell out for money or fame or things like that.
This is something that is very, very familiar, I guess, both you and me, from the black metal scene. Being true to yourself, being honest, no compromises and stuff like that. Do you think that has affected you in creating Wardruna and, you know, making these values or principles for how you operate? Do you think there is a certain kind of an echo from the days of being part of a black metal band scene?
Yeah, it definitely echoes certain parts of the scene. But of course it's a scene that, initially had a very, you know, the things underneath and behind the music is just as important as the music itself. But at some point it became very technique based. It became perhaps a little bit more superficial. It's about how fast you can blast and how good your kick drum sound and clear guitar sound you get, and sort of part of the message and the heart
was lost
in that sense. But definitely that part and some of the discipline, some of the rigidness in the artistic expression is definitely something I connected very much to in those early days of metal and black metal as well, definitely.
Now this is a question I got from one of my friends who is also a fan of yours, creating music for games, and he wanted to ask me how different it is to create music for games and TV versus your own. And let me elaborate a little bit, like creating layers of different parts, how much you have to kind of adjust the flow of music and creating certain parts of the tunes versus letting the kind of a free-roaming, free-flowing stuff when you're not operating for a project. How different it is to compose things for different projects.
It's, yeah, as you say, it's completely different. You have to have the premise is different, so you have to also switch the mindset. Sometimes you have to be faster. You have to be more direct in how fast you come to the point in a way, because of course, especially when you're working with images like for TV or film, there you have to there you're basically part of the dialogue, part of the story, so you have to always you're a slave to it in a way. You can lift, you can so yeah, that was I learned a lot from doing it, because that was new to me as well, and same thing with working with video games. Of course, my work with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we were 3 composers, whereas they were handling more of the score, the traditional video game score, whereas my part was more for special missions, was more for it was more song based, and also the starting point of the songs would be these acoustic songs. That's basically which is, to be honest, one of the reasons why I like this project, because very often when Nordic history is portrayed through television or film, one of the things they always miss out on, which used to be so central, is the skaldic, the poetic traditions, where it's always gone. Whereas they wanted to highlight it, they wanted to give voice to that part of the tradition, and I felt that was a very exciting thing that I wanted to be part of. So that is basically the starting point of all my music in that game. What was these skaldic songs that are very I wouldn't say authentic necessarily, but at least born out of a very time-right poetic form as well as a musical form. In terms of, so I was much more strict. In Wardruna, I use instrument that goes back from Stone Age, Bronze Age, Viking period, Migration period, medieval times, even modern input, Whereas Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that's a very limited time period.
Yeah, exactly.
So it narrowed down my instruments as well.
Yeah, of course, being authentic to the themes and scenes.
At least more authentic. So, but that's the thing, you have to adjust. And of course, when I create for myself and Wallruna, I'm the boss, and I decide the rules. And of course, when you work with other projects like this, it's the client who decides. So you have to always have that mindset where you have to be more flexible, not become too emotionally attached to your ideas in a way. You have to. But I've been lucky in that sense, because the people I've been working with, we've shared a lot of the same vision of what my part would be and how the expression should be. So hasn't been any big debates, thankfully.
That's good. I think we're running out of time because of events here. Now, I would like to play a little bit of a foretelling. Where will we see Wardruna in, say, 3-5 years roughly? What kind of big plans you have for the next few years?
If I could tell you, but then I would have to kill you afterwards.
Well, yeah, let's get into that. Makes me sweat. Yeah. But do you have?
It's I don't know. The day I don't have anything more I want to say, then I will stop and I will do something else. But at this point, I still have many things I do want to give voice to. So now my main focus is on concerts and tours that have been rescheduled and so on for years now, been juggled around. So I feel that's the most important thing I need to do now to get these shows on the road, and we're well on that way, and we'll continue to do a lot of live performances, and then I can feel the creative need coming as well. So it will be heading back into the studio and create more music, create more visuals. I really enjoy working with the visual format as well, through videos and films, and we'll probably explore that even further.
All right, thank you for this discussion. Now for the last comment, word of wisdom to the fans, new and old. We have now gotten through this interview and your gigs, obviously.
Well, remember that anything of value, if it has a true value, it has a true cost, and that's a good mantra to keep. If it hasn't a cost, the value is low. So
now this is a very good words of wisdom to end this interview. I hope someday we will picking more his brain, but now it's time to go. And this is Midgardsblot, this is Rauta, this is Wardruna. You out there, check out the music, check out them live. They are wonderful. So click and off you go. Bye bye. Thank you so much.